Yes. Everyone please come back. Yeah. Spring Web module is there. It is having two parts. Part 1 for web application development. Part 2 for RESTful web services development. Nothing but distributed application. Part 2 is also called as REST module. But actually, officially, there is no REST module. Web module only used in two angles. One for web application, one for distributed application. But today we are focusing on only web application development. Some internet problem and solve it. So, okay. Today we are talking about what? Just web application development activity, not the other one. Right? Okay. But this is fine. Spring MVC or Spring Boot MVC is a framework that is developed on the top of Servlet JSP technology, simplifying application development. Okay, this is framework. But before arrival of this framework, how people used to develop the web application? Using Servlet JSP technologies. Right? So first we'll try to understand what is the problem with the existing environment of working with the Servlet JSP and framework setup. Actually, the actual story is, while working with the Servlet JSP, also two models are there. One is MVC1, MVC2. Model 1, Model 2. Actually, what? Model 1, Model 2. Model 1 says, use either Servlet or JSP to develop the web application. Model 2 says, which is called MVC, use Servlet JSP together in web application development. Getting my point there? So both are technologies based, but one uses either Servlet or JSP. Other one says use what? Servlet JSP together. Second one promotes layered application development, nothing but MVC architecture based layered application development. Okay, that's great. So this is my paint, guys. Open, guys. Class content. Here is what? Spring. In this place. Where is this? 1 minute. 717 Spring Boot. Oh no, wait, bro. 718, say paste. I think that's not copied properly. Spring Boot MVC. Copy this. 718. Spring Boot MVC. Sort by date, view as list. Sort by date, view as list. Okay. What's your batch code, guys? 718. Again, what's your batch code, guys? 718. Yeah. First, you look at this part, guys. Spring Boot MVC, MVC module provides abstraction on what? Servlet JSP technologies and web service framework. So we can use this MVC, Web MVC module to develop the Java web application and what? Java distributed application, especially REST web services based distributed application. Officially, there is no REST module in Spring Boot, but the portion of web module that is given to develop what? REST web services based distributed application is called as what? REST module, unofficial. The conclusion is using Spring web module, we can develop what? Web application and distributed application. Spring Boot web module or Spring Boot Web MVC module, both are one and same. Web MVC, one and the same. Can be used for developing web application and what? Distributed application. An enterprise application is combination of web application and distributed application are not there. So indirectly, this web module can be used to develop enterprise applications also, guys. Okay, Flipkart with card payment, Flipkart with what? UPI payment. Understanding my statement, guys? Yes. So final conclusion is what, guys? Web module, web MVC module, one and the same. Clear? And the other side, what is the story, guys? Web module is having two parts. Part one is what? For developing web application. Part two is what? Developing distributed application. Distributed application is enhancement of web application or not there. Different models of developing Java web application. One is what? Model 1. Other one is what? Model 2. This model 2 is also called as what? MVC. This model 2 is also called as what? MVC. Are you understanding my statement or not there? Yeah, that is there. Yeah, tell me. Here all logics will be placed either in what? Servlet component or in JSP component. Here, multiple logics of web application will be developed using what? Multiple technologies by placing them in what? Multiple layers. Either servlet or JSP. Here what? Multiple logics in multiple layer. To develop those multiple layer logics, we take the support of what? Multiple technologies are not there. Super. In this model of application development, if servlet components are used as what? Main component, then JSP components will not be used and vice versa. If servlets are used, JSPs will not. If JSPs are used, servlets will not be used. Everyone understanding my statement, guys? Since multiple layers are there, we can say there is a clean separation between logics are not there. And here the logics of multiple layers will be developed using multiple technologies. See, by using multiple technologies. And multiple layers means clean separation of logics will be there or not. Here either servlet or JSP. What does it mean, guys? Here either servlet or what? JSP. Every main web component like servlet JSP component contains what? Mix of multiple logics. So we can say there is no clean separation between logics or not there. Is there any clean separation between logics, guys? No. There is no clean separation between logics. M for model layer contains what? Business logic plus persistence logic. Basically represents data. Service class, DAO class. V for view layer contains what? Presentation logic, UI logic. C for controller layer contains what? Monitoring logic. Nothing but tracing activities are not there. Definitely what? Tracing activities are not there, guys. Okay, that's good. Every main web component Turlet JSP contain mix of multiple logic, so there is no clean separation. The Model 1 architecture is suitable only for small scale web application. Naresh IT Hyderabad.com. And this is very much suitable for developing large scale applications and medium scale applications or not. E-commerce application, university application, bank applications and etc. Right? Okay, for developing model layer logics, one model layer, one layer, view layer, one layer, controller layer, one layer. Okay, suitable technology for developing model layer is what? Java classes, Spring Bean with ORM, or EasyB, Spring Bean with data JPA. Many options are there or not there. Spring REST with data JPA. Many options are there or not there. Suitable technologies for controller layer, servlet or servlet filter. Suitable technologies for what? View layer, JSP, HTML, theme leaf, Angular, React. Many options are there or not there, boss? We have multiple options or not there, guys? Okay, fine. So this is the story before arrival of the frameworks. Before arrival of the framework, when you are dealing with the servlet JSP, there are two models to develop the web application. One is what? Model 1. Other one is Model 2. Model 1 means what, guys? Either servlet or JSP in one component only, mix all the logic. It's like a bachelor room. time waste. Only for small website was good. Okay, the second one is model 2, also called MVC. It's like 3 BHK, 4 BHK. Different logics are kept in different classes or different layer, and we are going for integration or not there. We are simply literally going for integration or not there. That's good. Instead of developing controller component as normal servlet component or servlet filter component, it's recommended to develop as what? Front controller. This is very important. See, controller generally we are taking servlet now, boss. But I want you people to take it as what? Front controller. What do you mean by front controller? Yeah, when I use the word front controller, it's a special servlet component having ability to trap and take the request to apply common system services like auditing, logging, auditing, all this stuff, and to delegate the request to appropriate classes, gather the result and delegate the results to appropriate places. It acts as a entry and exit point for all the request and response are not there. It acts as a security guard in five-star hotel are not there. Opens the door, allows your entry. Opens the door, allows your exit. Come on. Is it trapping your entry and exit both are not there? Is it definitely trapping your entry and exit both activities are not there, guys? Instead of developing controller component as normal servlet component or servlet filter component, it is recommended to develop as what? Front controller servlet. Servlet component based on what? Front controller design pattern. Okay, DP means design pattern. All MVC projects of current trend are what? MVC with front control. Just MVC, good. MVC with front controller is more good. MVC is not a design pattern, it is what? An architecture to develop layered applications in Java. While developing various layers and components in that architecture, we use multiple design patterns as best practices are not there. We take the support of multiple design patterns as best practices are not there. Generally, in the implementation of MVC architecture based web applications, we can see the following design pattern implementation. DAO, service, business delegate, factory, front controller, view helper, composite view, and etc. View helper, composite view, and what? Etc. Are you getting my point there, guys? DAO, service, business delegate required in model layer. Front controller required in controller layer. View helper and composite view required in what? View layer. Are very simple, boss. MVC is not a design pattern, it's an architecture. In the implementation of that architecture based process, so many layers will be there. While writing logics in so many layers, we try to use the so many design pattern. That means building architecture that gives end-to-end building construction plan are not there. In that one, while constructing flooring, ceiling, some best practices we use, they are design pattern. Architecture never talk about particular problem, particular solution. Architecture always talks to what? End-to-end application development. What is there? Architecture always speak about what? End-to-end application development. MVC is an architecture to develop the web application as layered application. And while developing various logics in various layer, we have get some problems. Addressing those problems, we apply solution. And they are technically called as what? Design patterns. They are literally solidly called as what? Design pattern. Different popular architectures in Java. MVC, monolithic, SOA, microservice. These are various things. Right now, you worry about only MVC. Remaining things we will discuss later. Architecture of the application talks about various components and layers of application development and their interaction among them. While developing each component or layer of any architecture, we follow bunch of rules as best practices or design pattern to solve reoccurring problems. What problems, guys? To simply solve reoccurring problems. to simply solve reoccurring. MVC is layered architecture to develop the web application. In that we use what? Front controller, application controller, design pattern. In controller layer, we use view helper, composite view, design pattern in what? View layer. Are you understanding my statement, guys? So final conclusion is what, guys? MVC is architecture to develop the layered application. That is also called model to architecture. Just MVC good, MVC with front controller is good. Okay, so then what is the difference between design pattern and architecture? Architecture talks about end-to-end application development from scratch to last. While developing different logics of different layers, we get various problems. Addressing those problems, come on. Addressing those problems. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Addressing those problems. Whatever solutions we apply, they are called design pattern. Front controller is one design pattern, view helper, application controller, DAO, business delegate, all these are design pattern. Whole building construction, right from basement to top floor, that is called architecture. While doing each construction, some problems will occur. And addressing those problems, some best solutions will be there. These are called as what? Design patterns. Right. Only MVC good or MVC with front controller is good? Okay, now let us try to understand what is front control. Front controller is a special web component of web application that acts as entry and exit point for what? All the requests and responses. That acts as entry and exit point for all the requests and what? Responses. Generally, one web application contains only one front controller web component. We can take either servlet component or servlet filter component or JSP as front controller. But servlet component is very, very important or not there. Front controller web component traps either all requests or majority of requests and applies common system services or not there. And it delegates the request to other component. Their request processing happen, gather the result, and sends the results to appropriate view components are not there. See, front controller takes the request from clients, applies the common system services. Security, logging, auditing, these are called common system services. Delegates the request to model component. Their request processing, result generation happen, gathers the result, and passes the results to appropriate view component. Come on. This view component format the result and takes the formatted result, sends to clients or not there. It simply literally sends to clients or not there. Say something, guys. I hope you got the clarity or not there. A front controller web component traps either all requests or what? Multiple. Applies common system services. Performs what? Navigation management, data management, view management. Lastly, sends the response to browser. System services, right? The minimum services that should be applied after trapping requests are called as what? System services. Security, logging, auditing, and etc. is called as what? System service. Next one, what is there? Navigation management. Taking requests by trapping requests and delegating and passing the URL request to appropriate handler component is called navigation management. And it will pass the request to appropriate model components. Okay, next one, data management. Along with the request inputs will come, it has to pass to appropriate places. Along with the output results will come. Those results should pass to appropriate view component. So taking care of this entire process is called as what? Model management or what? Data management. Then view management. Once results are generated, guys, okay, it should be passed to appropriate view component to format the results are not there. That is called what? View management. So listen, every front controller take care of how many activities, guys? 4 activities. Number 1, system services. It will apply common system services like security, logging, auditing kind of thing. Next, navigation management. Traps the request, sends right request to right model component. Data management. Gathers the inputs along with the request, passes to right model component. Gather the results from model component, passes to right view component. That is data management or model man. Model means data, data means model. View management. Once results are generated, it will send right result to right view component for formatting. That is called what? View management. Okay, wait, once again, system services on trapped requests, common services will be applied. Security, logging, auditing kind. Security means authentication and authorization we discussed in the morning, right? Next, logging means what? Keeping track of flow of execution. Auditing means what? Keeping track of user activity. When user signed in, what user has done, what user has not done, all this stuff. Navigation management. Front controller is a common point, na boss. It traps all the requests. You should send right request to right model component, right service class, and right DAO class, my dear. That is navigation management. Okay, model data, what is there? Model management or what? Data management. What do you mean by that? Model management or what? Data management. Along with the request inputs will come. Along with the response outputs will come. Come on. Along with the inputs, request will come. Along with the output will come. Sending request, getting response should be taken care or not there. Sending request, getting output should be taken care or not there. So for that one, we have to go for what? Data management. Passing data is called. Next, what is there? View management. Okay, view management. Once results are generated, for formatting result, we should pass them to appropriate view components, JSP, HTML. That is called view management. So front controller seriously take care of all this stuff. Everyone getting my point, my dear? Okay, here only. Check it out. What is front controller in layman terms? What is front controller in layman terms? It is special servlet component of web application having URL pattern, having ability to trap and take requests, delegating the request to other components of the application for processing, gathering the results from the component and passing the results to view component, gathering the formatted results from view component and passing them to clients as what? Response. Passing them to clients as what? Response. What is logging, guys? Keeping track of code flow is called logging or not there? That's good. Auditing was keeping track of user activities is called as auditing or not there? Next, handler class, guys. The Java class where we process request is called what? Handler class. Sometime handler class directly process the request. Sometime handler class take the support of what? Service and DAO classes for the same are not there. In project, we can take multiple handler classes, multiple view component, but we take what? Single front controller. Front controller only one thing because it's a supervisor, na boss. Model components are like accounts officer, always busy in calculation. View components are like beautician, always busy in formatting result. Front controller is always what? Supervisor. Taking request, passing to appropriate model classes, gathering result, passing to view component. It does nothing on its own, but it monitors everything or not there. Traffic police guy stands in the center, control the traffic or not there. Supervisor work is not working. Supervisor work is what? Making others to work. Supervisor work is what? Making others to work. If we use front controller DP in our project, we will be taking only one servlet component in web application, that is front controller. Remaining all components are what? Java classes who gets delegated request from front controller servlet. Who get delegated request from what? Front controller servlet. Everyone getting my point, my dear? That's great. Okay, now let's see what we can do over here, guys. Come on. This is what? Browser. This is what? Browser. So this is what? MVC architecture using Servlet JSP and front controller. Whatever things I talked, they are reflecting. First, try to understand. Browser is the client. This is MVC architecture web application with front controller. Come on. This is front controller servlet. Handler class or what? Controller class who takes a request from front controller. Okay. And it talks with service and DAO classes. These are the view component to process the results. Come on. These are service classes where business logic will be placed. These are DAO classes where what? Persistence logics will be placed. These are DAO classes where persistence logic will be placed. These are service classes where business logic will be placed. Everyone getting my point there or not there? Super. Yeah. Tell me, boss. Browser gives request or not there? Who gives request, guys? Browser. Browser gives request. Number one. Okay, what is the URL pattern of this servlet? Star.do/. That means it is ready to take multiple requests or not there. So that means it traps and take all the requests. Number two, right? It applies the common system services. Using navigation management logic, it will delegate the request to correct handler class or not there. Everyone please focus. It will delegate the request to what? Correct handler class or not there. Okay, that's good. See, if it is a small application, handler class itself process the request. If it is a big application, it will again delegate the request to service class. Service class delegates to DAO. DAO talks to what? Database software. Executes the query, gets the result. Those result comes to what? DAO. DAO passes the results to service. Service passes the results to controller. Controller will view the results to what? Front controller. Okay, now front controller passes the results to appropriate view component. View component will format the results now, boss. Formatted results comes back to what? Front controller. And front controller passes those formatted results to whom, guys? Browser. And browser will display them in the form of web page or not there. Browser will display the results in the form of web page or not there. I think you enjoyed my statement or not. Guys, got it or not there? Front controller, C controller. Handler class also comes under what? Controller. Service and DAO comes under what, guys? Model. M for model. Here, when I say use the word model. C for what? Controller. Yeah. M for model. V for what? View. V for what? View. Browser generates the request. Clear? Yeah. Front controller traps and takes the request. Next. Applies the common system services, security logging audit. It will pass the request to appropriate handler class, which is a Java class. If it is a small application, it only directly processes the request, generates the result. If it is a big application, it takes the support of service DAO to process the request, na boss? 4, 5. And DAO talks to what? Database software. Executes the query in database software. Gets the results, guys. Gathered results are passed to whom, guys? Service, guys. Service passes them to whom? Controller class, guys. Controller passes them to whom? Front controller. Front controller passes to whom? Appropriate view component. View component uses presentation logic to format the result. Formatted result comes to what? Front controller. And front controller passes those formatted result to browser as what? Response. And it will be displayed as a web page or not. It will be simply literally displayed as the web page or not there, guys. Convinced or not, guys? Everyone understanding my statement here or not there? This is the whole mechanism. This is the whole mechanism. Are you comfortable, my dear? Come on. Okay. See, are you feeling the layers? Observe. All requests are trapped by front controller. All responses are delivered by front controller. That means it is acting as entry and exit point for all requests and responses. It is like security person who is there in front of office. He traps your entry, checks something and allows. He traps your exit, checks something and allows, right? So can I say front controller is what? Special web component of web application that acts as entry and exit point for all the requests are not there. All the requests and what? Responses. No frameworks are. I'm just talking about before arrival of any framework, how exactly MVC architecture based application is developed. Only MVC possible, MVC with front controller is possible. MVC with front controller is having what? More advantages are not there. As a controller, it is trapping all the requests, trapping all the responses, formatting them nicely are not there. That's good. Since front controller servlet component should trap and take either what? Or multiple requests. So we need to configure front controller servlet component having what? Extension match URL pattern or directory match URL pattern. Extension match means star.do or directory match with what? Star xy/star or what? Slash. Extension match or what? Directory match or what? Slash. But what is the best, guys? Slash. Star.do means what? Trap every request who is having .do at the end. But not compulsory, everyone should have a .do. What do you mean by slash x slash y star, boss? Trap all the requests. Come on. Trap all the requests. Are you getting my point there, guys? Trap all the requests. Anything can be there, but in the beginning, X and Y should be there. In the beginning, X and Y should be there. Are you understanding my statement, guys? Super. With respect to MVC architecture, each web application contains one front controller servlet, one handler class per module, one service class per module, one DAO class per DB table. Or this DAO will be taken for 3-4 related tables or not there. This DAO will be taken for 3-4 related tables or not there, guys. Okay, that's good. What is the difference between front controller and controller or handler class? Check it out. I'm talking about front controller, controller or handler class. It's a servlet, guys. It's a Java class. It is one per web application, guys. There can be multiple. Right? It contains what? Common system services, navigation management, view management, data management. This will contain what? Either logic to delegate the request to service and DAO or business logic to directly process the request. This will be one per web application. There will be multiple or not there. Check it out. And moreover, in most of the framework, front controller is ready-made. So we cannot do anything. So if any extension logics you want to write for front controller, we try to write in handler class are not there, which is user-defined class. In most of the framework, front controller is predefined. Handler class is what? User. This handler class is called just controller. controller. Controller is different, front controller is different. Front controller means security guard, only one thing. Controller means what? Front office. Front office is receptionist. One may be there, two may be there, three may be there. But security guard who opens the door, who closes the door is only one person or not there. Okay, you think about office environment, guys. You think about office environment. Outsider came. Who opens the door? Security guard. After that, you will go to what? Receptionist. Sometime, if it is a small work, receptionist only complete the work. If it is a big work, you will delegate to back-end people. After all communication, multiple communication, you will get some solution. Come on, guys. You will get some solution, na, boss? Okay. The having that solution, you will come back. Again, security person will trap your exit. Come on, again, he will do some checkings, na, my dear. So that means security guard is look like what? Center controller, office receptionist, front office executives look like what? Huh? Controllers. I hope you convinced with me, my dear. Come on. C for controller layer, V for view layer, M for model layer. But listen, guys, all these are possible only when front controller is trapping all requests and all responses. Multiple requests and what? Multiple responses. Further, front controller should be configured with what URL pattern, guys? Either star.do or slash URL pattern. What URL pattern? Star.do or what? Slash URL pattern. Everyone getting my point here, guys? Understanding my statement here, guys? Convinced with me, my dear? Come on. Convinced with me, my dear, or not there? I want reply from you people. Since front controller servlet component should trap and take what? Either or multiple requests. So we need to configure front controller servlet component having what? Extension match URL pattern, star.do or directory match or slash. But what is good, guys? Slash is good. What is the difference between front controller and what? Handler. Handler or controller class handle the request, guys, by taking requests from control. If service DAO class are not taken, then handler class itself will process the request. Otherwise, it will delegate the request to whom, guys? Service DAO classes through request processing. The front controller is servlet component and handler controller class is what? Java class. Front controller contains navigation management, view management, data management, and system service logic. Whereas controller or handler class contains what? Either business logic or delegation logic to what? Service DAO classes. Front controller is one per web application, whereas what? Controller is one per module. Controller is what? One per module. I hope you convinced, my dear. Okay, let me summarize what we already discussed so far. No hurry, burry. First, you have to get the concept. Tell me, how many models are there to develop Java web application? Two model. Model 1, model. Model 1 says use either servlet or JSP, mix all the logic, bachelor room kind of. Model 2 is what? MVC. Keep different logics in different layers. Communicate them. Model 2 is great, MVC is great. But people are using just MVC, MVC with the front controller. What is front controller? The special web component of web application that traps all the requests, applies common system services, delegates the request to model component, okay, gather the result, passes the results to view component, gathers the results and process the results. Come on, gathers the results and sends the results to browser as clients are not there. Send the results to browser as clients are not there, guys. I want reply from you people, guys. Come on, everyone. Got the clarity or not there? Okay, that's great. Super. Okay, now tell me, boss. Question. What is the famous architecture to develop Java web application? MVC plus front controller. This is the famous architecture or not? Okay. MVC plus front controller application can be developed in how many ways? Two ways. Number one, using JWE technology like Servlet JSP. Number two, using frameworks like what? Spring Boot MVC, Struts JSF, and etc. I hope you got the clarity, guys. Out of these two things, which is good, guys? Frameworks are. Okay, then we must understand problems of what? Developing MVC architecture application by using Servlet JSP technologies are not there. So this application, if I develop by using Servlet JSP technologies, what is the problem? Here no ready-made, guys. Everything should be developed by programmer manually. Because Servlet JSP level, no ready-made servlets, right? Okay. Check it out. Limitations of MVC plus front controller architecture when it is implemented with the support of what? Servlet JSP technology directly without using what? Frame. Directly without using framework. That means without using JWE technologies. Are you getting my point? All the logics of all the layers must be developed what? Manually. This is extra burden to programmer or not? This is definitely extra burden to programmer or not there, guys. Super. We need to understand and implement entire front controller DP manually, which is quite complex process to perform or not there. Okay, no. We have to develop front controller by understanding it completely. You should know what is navigation management, what is view management, how to add system services. Everything we should know before developing further are not there. All rules of MVC architecture should be remembered and implemented what? Manually. Should be remembered and implemented what? Manually. Are you getting my point there, guys? All the rules of MVC architecture should be remembered and implemented what? Manually. What are the rules, guys? Every layer is designed to develop what? Specific logic. So place only those logics and don't place any additional. Place only those logics and don't place any what? Additional logic. Are you getting my point there, guys? All the rules MVC should remember, guys, are rules number one. Every layer is designed for specific logic. For example, JSP view layer, only presentation. No, sir, I know how to write JDBC code in JSP. Don't write. Service, only business logic. No, sir, I know how to write JDBC code in service class. Don't write. Every layer is designed for particular purpose and you have to keep only those logic, no additional logic. There can be multiple view component, but there should be only one front controller component or not there. You should remember and implement all these things. Hare, for one team, if two supervisors are there, groupism will start or not there. That's why. And then for entire application, there should be only one front controller servlet or not. There must be only one front controller servlet or not there. Say something, my dear. All operations and flow of execution must take place through what? Front controller servlet. All operations and flow of execution must take place through what? Front controller. So these are the limitations of developing what? MVC architecture application with Servlet JSP. Number one, all logic I should develop, no ready-made one. So it's a burden on the programmer. Come on. Entire front controller design pattern you have to understand thoroughly and you have to implement it. This is also burden now, my dear. Come on. Super. Next one. All rules of MVC architecture should be remembered and implemented what? Manual. This is also another burden to the people or not there. This is also another burden to the people or not there, guys. Say something, guys. Got the clarity or not there, boss? Super. Okay. Every layer is designed to develop specific logic. So place only those logics and don't place what? Any additional logic. There can be multiple view component, model component, but there should be only one front controller component. All operation and flow of execution must take place through what? Front controller servlet. Must take place through what? Front controller servlet. Everyone getting my point there or not there, guys? Super. While developing MVC architecture plus front controller DP based web application, we need to take care of multiple logics in multiple layers manually by following what? Lots of MVC rules, especially what? Development of front controller servlet component manually is very complex process or not there. Okay, guys, while developing MVC architecture. To overcome all the problems of servlet JSP based web application development, it's better not to use technologies. It's better to go for frameworks or not there. And here are the list of the frameworks are not there. Struts is there from Apache, JSF, Java Server Faces from what? Sun Microsystem. Now Sun Microsystem is acquired by Oracle Corporation. Spring MVC from Interface 21. Spring Boot MVC from what? Interface 21. Tapestry from Adobe. ADF is from what? Oracle Corp. Tapestry from Adobe. ADF is from what? Oracle Corporation. All these Java-based MVC plus front controller frameworks to develop what? Java web application. These are there to develop Java web applications or not there? JSF, Java Server Faces, ADF, Application Development Framework. Comfortable, my dear? Come on, everyone, getting my point there or not there? Okay, that's good. Okay, now we set some problems when you develop the web application using Servlet JSP. Let me be very frank, guys. Basics of Servlet is required. Basics of JSP is required in order to enjoy this knowledge. But anyhow, I'm wantedly starting from scratch level, right? I directly not launched Spring MVC. First I said what? How many models are there? 2 model. In that one, what is best? Model to MVC. Only MVC good, MVC with the front controller is. Then we understood what is front controller, right? If we develop that one by using Servlet JSP technology, what is the problem? We discussed. Now I introduced a framework to solve the problems are not there. So many frameworks are there, but who is the market leader today? Spring MVC or Spring Boot MVC? Spring MVC or what? Spring Boot. Convinced or not, guys? That's great. Starts from Apache, JSF from Sun Microsystem or Oracle, Spring MVC from Interface 20, Spring Boot MVC from Interface 21, Tapestry from Adobe, ADF from what? Oracle Corp. All these are Java-based MVC plus front controller frameworks to develop Java web application. Convinced, my dear? Super. Advantages of developing MVC web application using Java frameworks. Check it out. These MVC frameworks give ready-made front controllers are like taking care of multiple logics or not. Instance, you will get action servlet as built-in front controller servlet. In JSF, you will get faces servlet as built-in front controller servlet. In Spring MVC, you will get dispatcher servlet as built-in front controller servlet. In Spring Boot MVC, you will get what? Dispatcher servlet as what? Built-in front controller servlet. Come on. Spring Boot MVC is equal to Spring MVC plus or not there. So that means front controller, which is the heart of the entire project, that is ready-made in this place or not. That is ready-made means what? System services are ready-made. Navigation management logic is ready-made. View management logic is ready-made. Data management logic is ready-made. Sir, how would ready-made? It expects some inputs from you people either in the form of XML or annotation, right? From outside but logic is fixed, but that logic inputs can be taken from outside or not there. If you look at this diagram, guys, everything is happening under the monitoring of front controller, na boss. Tell me, who is Who is actually trapping request? Front control. Who is passing to handler class? Front control. Who is gathering result? Who is passing the result to view component? Who is gathering result from front control? View component, front. Who is passing those results to browser? Is there any serious operation that is happening without involvement of front controller? Such a front controller is ready-made. So 50% burden is gone from your brain or not? Say something, guys. 50% burden. Only remaining 50% you have to do. Service logic, persistence logic, anyhow you are ready for that. What is main headache here? Front controller. Making it trapping all the requests, making it trap, sending all the responses, passing correct request to correct handler class. All these headaches can be suppressed or not there, guys. To overcome the problems of servlet JSP based MVC application development, take the support of what? MVC framework to develop MVC plus front controller based Java application. Convinced or not, guys? Starts from what? Apache. JSF from what? Sun Microsystem or Oracle Corp. Spring MVC plus Interface 21. Spring Boot MVC plus Interface 21. Trapstay from Adobe. ADF from what? Oracle Corporation. ADF is from what? Oracle Corp. All these are Java based. Okay, let's try to understand one by one. Provides abstraction on servlet JSP technology and simplifies what? MVC architecture based web application development or not. Flow of execution is fixed according to the logics placed in what? Front controller servlet. So developer need not to bother about flow of execution, but because the ready-made front controller servlet will take care of navigation management or not there. Flow is already readily decided, boss. Okay, you just need to arrange what is required in the flow. That too front controller is readily available. So handler you have to keep ready, service you have to keep DAO ready, you have to keep ready. Flow is already decided. You have to just add the extra component that are part of the flow. Extra component that are what? Part of the flow. The predefined front controller contains logic already satisfying what? MVC rules and guidelines. So programmer need not to remember and implement what? Those rules manually. Is there any need of remembering and implementing those rules separately, guys? No. Gives good productivity in application development. Come on. More work in less time having good accuracy or not there? More work in less time having good accuracy or not there, guys? Come on. I want reply, my dear. Come on. If any module implemented in Spring style, that is called Spring module. If any module is implemented, this is old statement. I hope you convinced with these advantages of developing application in frameworks, guys. What is the first advantage? Ready-made front controller, 50-60% burden gone. Front controller means navigation management is fixed. That means flow is fixed. In that flow, 50% components are ready-made. Come on. Another 50% only you have to develop, right, guys? Okay, since flow is fixed, MVC rules are already implemented or not there. No burden of developing front controller. So whatever problems I said with the servlet JSP in the implementation of MVC architecture application, that is happily solved in what? Frameworks are not there. At least now you got a reason to work with frameworks, my dear. Okay. I hope you are going good, guys. Come on. Yeah. Who is ready-made servlet in MVC? Spring MVC or Spring Boot MVC application? Dispatcher servlet. Remember it, guys. This is very, very important. Dispatcher servlet. Okay. It is Spring MVC supplied ready-made servlet component acting as a front controller. Okay, this is the full package name and class name. It is available in what? Spring-WebMVC-version.jar. It's given as front controller servlet having ready-made navigation logic, view management logic, and data management logic. Yes, my dear? Okay. In Spring MVC application, we need to configure explicitly either with a extension match or directory match or slash URL pattern. Slash URL is recommended or not there. If it is Spring MVC, if it is Spring Boot MVC, configuring this servlet is automatically happened. You least bother about that. In Spring Boot MVC application, it is automatically registered with a servlet container having slash URL pattern and also enabling what? Load on startup on it. I think you remembered load on startup, guys? Recollect. If you enable load on startup on servlet, guys, the moment you deploy the application, you give request, you don't give request. Object for servlet will be created or not there. Eager loading will happen. Eager instantiation will happen. Come on, guys. See, forget about Spring MVC. We are learning Spring Boot MVC here. Forget about Spring MVC. In Spring Boot MVC, dispatch servlet is ready-made servlet. It is automatically registered with servlet container, having slash URL pattern, enable with load on startup. What's the advantage of load on startup? The moment I deploy the web application, you use it, you don't use it. You give request, you don't give request. Dispatch servlet is loaded and instantiated and initialized or not there. Very, very interesting or not there. See, once we add Spring Boot Starter Web, we get lot of jar files related to MVC module like spring-web-version.jar, mvc.jar, etc. In that, spring-web-mvc.jar file contains what, guys? Ready-made dispatcher servlet. What, guys? Ready-made dispatcher servlet component as front controller servlet component with URL pattern slash. What, guys? With URL pattern slash. Everyone getting my point there or not there? Yeah, if you enable loader, hot deployment, deploying the web application when server is in what? Running mode. Cold deployment, deploying the web application when the server is in what? Stopped mode. Everyone getting my point there, guys? Super. On the deployment of Spring MVC, Spring Boot MVC application, the following operation takes place on what? Dispatcher servlet. Okay, let it be, guys. I think you understood basics of dispatcher servlet. Okay, load on startup is automatically enabled or not there. That means you give request, you don't give request. The moment you deploy the web application, dispatch servlet object is ready or not. Ready means object created. Object created means automatic initialized or not there. Sir, once the dispatcher servlet object is created, what happens? That's a $1 billion question, right? Okay, now focus. We deployed the Spring Boot MVC application. Because of load on startup enabled on dispatcher servlet, it is instantiated and initialized. As part of initialization, it will call init method of the dispatcher servlet class or not there. Come on, guys, everyone. Inside that init method, please remember, everyone please remember, it will create one IOC container of type application context. It's a web application, no main method. So we don't create container. It is created inside the dispatcher servlet. Come on, guys. Right. Once this IOC container is created, it will try to identify singleton scope Spring Beans or not. Pre-instantiation happens on those beans or not. Injection happens among those beans or not there. Which kind of thing? Which kind of thing? Service, DAO, handler. Some more internal components are there. Handler class, handler mapping, view resolver. Some components are there. We'll discuss them later. All these are instantiated. Necessary injections are done and they are kept in internal cache of the IOC container, na boss. What's the advantage? What's that? Because what's the advantage? Spring beans are ready before I give first request. Servlet component dispatcher servlet is ready before I give first request. So when I give the first request, does it waste the time in object creation or injection or directly participate in request processing? Does it waste time in object creation and injections or directly participates in request processing, guys? I think your bulb is glowing, right? Your bulb is glowing or not glowing? Once again, check it out. Let us assume I deployed one Spring Boot MVC application in web server. Point number one. Point number two. Because load on startup that is enabled automatically on dispatcher servlet class object will be created or not there. Perfect. Dispatcher servlet class object will be created. No second thought in that, right, guys? Perfect. Number three. Because of the load on startup that is created, dispatcher servlet class object will be created automatically. That is perfectly done or not done, guys? Okay. Number three. What is number three, guys? Okay. When object is created, init method executes automatically. Which one? Dispatcher servlet init method. What this init method contain? Logic to create IOC container. What this IOC container will do? Loads the singleton scope Spring Bean object creation. Instance injection among those beans, guys. Service, DAO, handler, all this stuff. And all these beans will be kept in internal cache of IOC container for future utilization. Come on, guys. Okay, that means what? When on the deployment of web application only, everything happened. So when I give first request, all beans are very much ready or not there. Servlet is ready. Spring beans are ready. Without wasting time, they will be busy in processing the request or not there. Okay, now listen. First you started the server, then deployed the application. That is called cold deployment. Sorry. Server is in running mode, hot deployment. First you started the server, then deployed the application. That is called what? Hot deployment. Server is in active, that's why you deploy. First deployed, slowly you started the server. That is called cold deploy. Hot means active. Cold means inactive. First deployed, then started server. Cold deploy. Server is already there, started, you deploying the application, hard deployment, right? Okay, check it out. On the deployment of Spring MVC, Spring Boot MVC application, the following operation takes place on what? Dispatcher servlet. Yeah, because of load on startup that is enabled, the servlet container creates what? Dispatcher servlet class object, either on what? Deployment of web application or during server startup. Hot deployment means during deployment only. Cold deployment means during server startup. Okay, what is hot deployment? What is cold deployment? I kept here or not there. In Spring Boot MVC, predefined dispatch servlet will be registered with servlet container using, okay, fine. Programmatic approach using sc.add servlet method. In that process, dispatcher servlet gets /URL pattern and enable load on startup or not there. Fine, A is okay. B, init method of dispatch servlet executes or not there. Inside that IOC container is created or not there, guys? Super. C. This web application context container perform pre-instantiation on what? Singleton score Spring Bean like controller, handler, service, DAO, data source, handler, mapping, view resolver, and etc. Performs what? The necessary dependency injection and keeps them in internal cache of IOC container or not? Keeps them in internal cache of the IOC container. This process keeps all objects ready in the deployment itself or not there. Okay. In standalone application, inside the main method, we create container manually. In web application, are you going to create the container or dispatcher servlet take care of container create? Are you going to create the container or dispatcher servlet take care of container creation? Dispatcher servlet take care of container creation. Everyone understanding my statement are there, guys? Super. Okay. I think you understood what are the things happening on the deployment of this application, guys. Easy or difficult, of course? Okay. Because it's a ready-made one, no? So many things it will do. Fine. Okay. Now listen. Okay. Now if you look at the Spring Boot MVC application, there is a servlet, dispatch servlet, handler class, service class, DAO class, view component. And some supporting components also there, handler mapping and view resolver. I'll tell what are those. We'll discuss later. In that one, which are managed by servlet container, JSP container, which are managed by what? IOC container. Okay, so very simple. Dispatch servlet JSPs are managed by servlet container, JSP container. Remaining all are managed by what? IOC. Handler class IOC, service IOC, DAO IOC. Yes, my dear. Super. Check it out. In Spring MVC application, dispatcher servlet view component are taken care by what? Servlet JSP container. Whereas controller or handler classes, service classes, DAO classes, handler mapping, view resolver. I'll explain view resolver and handler mapping later. Okay. Etc. are Java classes acting as Spring Bean, who will be taken care by what? Dispatcher servlet created IOC container or not there? The dispatcher servlet. Okay, now I am introducing what is handler mapping over here. What is there, guys? What is handler mapping over here? Are you getting my point there, guys? Dispatcher servlet uses handler mapping component as the helper component to pick the right handler method of handler or controller class for request process. Dispatcher servlet uses view resolver component as what? Helper component to pick up the right view component for formatting result. Okay, go to this place, guys. Dispatch servlet is ready made, right? There are multiple handler classes, but dispatch servlet trapped request. How does it will send correct request to correct handler class? It needs the support of one special component called handler mapping or not? Super. We have a lot of view component. Dispatcher servlet is there. How does it will pick up a right view component? Okay, for that one it takes the support of view resolver or not? See, handler mapping, useful to map correct request to handler class. View resolver, resolver means identifier, useful to identify correct view component or not there. Useful to identify correct view component or not there. I hope you understood my statement, guys. Convinced or not, guys? Okay. Dispatcher servlet uses handler mapping component either as what? Helper as what? Helper to pick up right handler method of handler class for request processing. Same dispatcher servlet uses what? View resolver component as the helper component. Come on. Helper component as the, what is there? As the helper component to pick the right view component for formatting the results. Write view component for formatting the result. Everyone understanding my statement here, guys? In all web applications, all web application must be deployed in web server 25/7. This is very simple. What is need of web server in web application? They get one request or thousands of requests. They deal with one user or hundreds of users. So if I start saying I will execute web components manually, is it going to work out? No. We need one automation software to execute the web application and web components are not. And that automation software is nothing but what, guys? Web server software or not? That automation software is nothing but web server software or not there, guys? Okay. That tells the need of what? Web server. Look at this, guys. Look at this diagram. It's a web server. Here I deployed Spring MVC application, guys. In that one, dispatch servlet is there. Dispatch servlet created IOC container is there. View resolver is there. Handler mapping is there. JSPs are there. DAO service, DAO controller class. Servlet JSP containers are there. JRE, JVM is there or not there? Okay, now focus and concentrate. Dispatcher servlet has created IOC container or not? And this IOC container is managing DAO service controller classes. Come on. DAO service controller classes. And this IOC container also managing view resolver and handler mapping, guys. Come on. View resolver and what? Handler mapping. And JSP container and servlet container is managing JSP components are not there. JSP and servlet container is managing JSP components are not there, guys. Convinced or not, my dear? So ultimate conclusion is what, guys? Dispatcher servlet JSP components are managed by servlet JSP containers, right? And remaining all are Java class acting as Spring Bean. They are managed by IOC container. But where does that IOC container is created? Dispatchers. This is what I discussed or not there. Servlet container is managing dispatcher servlet. Dispatcher servlet creates the IOC container. That means servlet container is managing IOC container indirectly, right? Dispatcher servlet created IOC container manages what? Spring Boot like handlers and service DAO classes. JSP container, which internally uses servlet container, will manage what? Execution of JSP component. Instead of saying servlet JSP container separately, we can say what? Web container is equal to servlet container plus JSP container or not? Web container is equal to servlet container plus JSP container or not there? Are you understanding my statement, guys? Come on, everyone. Got the clarity here or not there, guys? That's good. How many ways are there to configure servlet or to servlet container? Declarative approach using web.xml. Annotation approach using @web servlet. Programmatic approach using some internal code of sc.add servlet. But now tell me, guys, dispatch servlet is ready-made servlet? Unfortunately, it is not having @web servlet. We don't use web.xml in Spring Boot because we avoid XML. So definitely, dispatcher servlet is registered with the servlet container using programmatic approach or not. Come on, guys. Check it out. Here, what is there? Spring Boot MVC uses approach 3 to register dispatcher servlet with what? Servlet container having /URL pattern by enabling load on startup or not there. Having /URL pattern by enabling what? Load on start. Are you comfortable, my dear? Come on, everyone, getting my point there or not? Everyone convinced with me, my dear? I want reply, guys. Are you understanding my statement here, guys? Save this. This is what we need to understand or not there. This is what we need to understand. Okay. Fine. Let me summarize the whole session, guys. Okay. First of all, total how many models are there to develop the web application? Model 1, model. Model 2 is called MVC. Model 1 is good, model 2 good. Okay. Model 2 is MVC. Only MVC good, MVC with the front controller is. What is front controller? The special servlet component of web application. Come on. Okay, that acts as entry and exit point for all the request and response. It traps the request, applies the system services. Come on. Delegates the request to appropriate components, gathers the result, gives the results to appropriate view component, gathers the formatted results and gives to count. Okay, guys. Okay, total, how many ways are there to develop MVC plus front controller application, guys? Two ways are there, using Servlet JSP technology, using framework. Which is good? Framework is good as Servlet JSP technology. Framework is good as Servlet JSP technology. Framework is good as Servlet JSP technology. Definitely framework is good, no doubt. Okay. So what are the advantages of developing application in the framework? Ready-made front controller. Because of that, ready-made navigation management. Okay, less burden on the programmer. No need of remembering and implementing MVC rules. Many advantages are there or not? Okay, that's good. Okay, but what is this dispatch servlet? Ready-made servlet, it is available in some jar file. Okay. It is, you are going to register with the servlet container or automatically registered with servlet container? It is automatically registered with what? Servlet container. We are not going to register with what? Servlet container. It will be registered automatically with the servlet container or not there? Say something, guys. Handler mapping performs navigation management. Handler mapping component only. Dudekla, what's the problem? You know, you are doing reverse. You already know subject and you are trying to do reverse mapping. First, I have introduced navigation management. Then I have to introduce what? Handler mapping. But problem is you already know handler mapping. You are searching where is navigation management. Dudekla, change your attitude, Babu. Please. See, handler mapping, what is doing, boss? Takes a request from front controller, links with a appropriate handler class. This is technically called navigation management. So indirectly handler mapping is doing what? And view resolver is doing what? View management. Come on, guys. What view resolver is doing? Taking the result, passing to appropriate view component or not. This is called what? View management or not there. This is technically, literally called as what? View management or not there, guys. Say something, my dear. I want reply, guys. Yes. Okay. So whenever I deploy Spring Boot MVC application, number one, dispatcher servlet is loaded, object is created because of load on startup. That is automatically happening. Number two, init method of dispatch servlet execute. Inside that IOC container. This is very important internal. This IOC container perform pre-instantiation of singleton scope Spring Beans. What are those? Service, DAO, handler class, handler mapping, view resolver. Handler mapping is ready-made Spring Bean that helps in navigation management. View resolver is ready-made Spring Bean that helps in what? View resolve. That helps in what? View resolve. Okay, that's good. Once that is done, guys, all injections are done and all of them are kept in what? Internal cache of the IOC container or not? All of them are kept in what? Internal cache of the IOC container or not there? Okay, guys. Why servlet is best as front control, ra? Okay. Front control means Java code is required. It's better to keep Java code in servlet or JSP. JSP is known for tags. Can we keep Java code in front JSP? We can keep, but that's not greatly recommended, right? That's why. Okay, fine. That is done. Okay, that means in the beginning only many things are done, guys. Okay, now. So if you look at Spring Boot MVC application, servlet container is there, JSP container is there, IOC container. IOC container take care of service DAO, handler class, view resolver, handler mapping are not there. JSP container take care of JSP file. Servlet container take care of what? Dispatcher servlet component are not there. That's good. Okay. Fine. This we introduced MVC architecture. What is the problem with the existing one and what is the advantage with the frame? We got the basic idea about the terminology. But we will see Spring Boot MVC flow. Other day I called one student. What he said? What he said, guys? He said, if you know Spring MVC flow, you will clear 50% of interview, right? Did he say that statement or not? Yes. So that's why Spring MVC flow is very, very important. Don't miss it. At any cost, don't miss it. Okay, that's great. Now let's see what we can do here. Yeah. Google Drive. Let me create. Monday we are going to see flow of Spring Boot. Where is this? 7:30 p.m. 7:30 a.m. 17 July, 5th June 1. Okay. New folder. What is there? Spring Boot MVs. Create. File upload. Where is this? Class content. Spring on. Tell me here. Where is this? 718 or 719? 718. Spring Boot MVC here. I would like to talk about session 1 or not. Done, guys. Tomorrow, no class, guys. Next class will be on what? Monday. Tomorrow, no class. Next class will be on Monday. And the next common topic is on Saturday, Sunday. Thank you.